Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Make sure I have my Discord chat up. I'm not even in the right room. What? I gotta go check the stream text. There we go. What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever side of the world you're on. I'm on the West Coast, the best coast, the left coast. Yeah, it's Tuesdays. We're doing art school stuff. We're going to learn some stuff, and then we'll do a cool Photoshop demo. So if you guys tuned in last week or saw the video that was posted last week, we went into like the history of digital art, like where did it all come from, talked about like the ASCII symbols, ANSI, kind of vectors, rasterization, and polygons. And so now we're going to get into understanding and knowing your tools when it comes to creating digital art. A lot of you guys already out there have workflows and tools, so some of this might be repetitive, but for those that don't, this is a great intro point to getting some resources. So we'll jump into it. Cool. So what I wanted to kind of briefly touch on is like the different hardware, apps, and resources, and more. I did have an idea to put in a couple other things like some data moshing resources. I didn't quite have that yet, but maybe in the next one, next presentation, I'll do that. So hardware, obviously computers, right? You need a computer to create digital art, but you can create digital art with VCR and TV, analog. I was looking through Zara Sucker's portfolio. Her work is amazing. If you guys haven't seen her on Twitter, the Sarah Show, her work is very, very, very unique. It's the way she does her analog outputs on her art pieces is very, very awesome. Her workflow, I think the last like Twitter post that she did, she had kind of like a behind the scenes, and you can see that she's using like old tape recorder camcorders and green screens to create all this really crazy stuff, and then using just the VCR or whatever that analog tool, the hardware that she has, she generates these really, really crazy, trippy graphics. This doesn't do it justice. Go check her Twitter out because her stuff is all animated, and you can almost, it feels very nostalgic. It feels very old school, but she's able to output that, and that's I think as a digital artist looking at another digital artist workflow, like being able to create and not just being bound to, oh, I need to use Photoshop is really, really, really cool. And yeah, her stuff is trippy. And I think too, with the effects that you can get when you're playing with VCR or you're playing with just video in general is always beautiful. I really like the RGB look of the old TV screens. This is before we had, super crazy LCDs and liquid displays, like when they were still just little bands of red, blue, and green, and they'd flicker on and off with white and black. There's something old school about it. It's like the difference between like people that buy records and listen to record music versus like MP3s, right? Like there's just something classic about it. This I don't think is her work. I found this image on, I think I was just searching around. But what's interesting here is the way that the colors are banding. So what it's doing is basically has rows of those colors to what it's displaying, and when they band, they kind of glitch and twist and all that stuff, and it just looks cool. I don't know. Computers. So I don't have a gaming PC. I don't have a 3D PC, but I was going to build one. You guys probably have a better idea, but for PCs, I was looking into this NZXT to building a 3D PC. Some of you that are hardcore that build your own, you probably have some other slew of hardware that you want to use, but I felt like out the box for someone who was looking to just get into building a machine or getting into building a workstation to either do 3D artwork or not. This is a pretty cool spot to start. Obviously, it's like, $3,400 is a pretty big bag to drop on a PC, but if you're doing really crazy 3D design or rendering and you need a lot of processing power, probably smart. I've tried to do 3D on my MacBook. It's not the best. So I think if I was going to jump into doing more 3D artwork, I'd probably, you'd want to jump into a PC. I mean, industry standards, PC pretty much rocks the 3D world. But I thought there's always some good out the box, like what you can get. You can build a custom PC. Obviously, you need a lot of storage. You're going to need a really good graphics card. You're going to need a pretty powerful RAM and storage and a CPU. And like I said, I use a MacBook. You know, that's my hardware. Bamboo tablet. So if you guys have a Wacom Wacom, I actually have one. I use it all the time. It's right here. They're really cheap. You can get them for like $70, $80, $90. Really good. It takes a second to kind of learn how to use the stylus and disconnect from using a mouse. But these things are, I mean, they're super cheap and they're great to add to your workflow. If you want to get into digital painting, or if you just want to change the stylus and you don't have the money to go drop on a Cintiq or an iPad. This is a Cintiq. So when I worked at Zynga, when I worked at Zynga and then when I worked at another company, we had art teams that had large Cintiqs or even just touch displays. And these are they're made by the same company, but they have a display on them that is touch sensitive. So a lot of where you're going to get like your professional art studios, animation houses, industry standard is they use these for the most part. If you guys have ever had a chance to draw on one, I went to like I think it was like WonderCon or Comic-Con or I forgot what it was years ago. The IM 8-bit, they had like 50-inch versions of this, and we got to draw on them and do like live draw study jam sessions, and it was kind of fly. It was really cool. I wanted to get one of these, but they are pretty expensive. You know, like actually no, this 16-inch right here is only $649. But I know that like when building or scaling an art house team, like when you start to get into wanting to purchase these stuff like this, it gets into the thousands. And then there's the iPad Pro. The iPad Pro, I got one sitting right here. I just bought this pedestal for it off of Amazon, and it's like an easel kind of. It's like, you know, it's a tripod. So when I'm painting, I just kind of like, it makes my workflow, it's just a little bit more ergonomic versus, you know, sitting like this the whole time. When I have this up next to me, it's dope. But the iPad in general is a game changer. I definitely suggest anyone who's looking to add more workflow or more tools to their arsenal, definitely snatch an iPad and get a pencil. The apps on it are just crazy. I mean, it's a really well designed product. And yeah, iPads you can get them cheap now. So if you're looking to expand and get more tools, I guess, you can get iPads pretty cheap. I got the iPad Pro, the latest one. It was like, I don't know, $2,000 or something. And I probably have generated more income off of my iPad than I have on my laptop. And my laptop is just sitting here because I have to write code occasionally. So write code and or use like Final Cut. But otherwise I would be on the iPad and I would just throw my laptop away. I wish I could get there. Apps. So a lot of you are familiar like with Adobe Suite. Before Adobe Suite, do y'all remember Mario Paint? Mario Paint was legit. Mario Paint was super fly. Like I loved Mario Paint. I think I played Mario Paint on Super Nintendo. It was fun. It was like interactive art. This was something completely, this wasn't like, you know, digital tools. Like I would be really impressed to see an NFT artist, go out, get Mario Paint and create a collection of Mario Paint art. I'd be like, send me your gallery URL. I'm gonna start buying that right now because that would be fresh. Mario Paint was just like an interactive paint tool. So weird. I built a version of Mario Paint, but I made it with Tumblr graphics called Cyber FM. I built a Cpunk vaporwave photo editing app a few years ago. It got pretty big, but I one of the methods that I did was I made paintbrushes that you could use emojis with. If you guys are familiar with Young Jake's artwork, he used to paint portraits in emojis of rappers and stuff. And I actually worked with I ported their JavaScript app to iOS, which was kind of cool. So if you guys check that out, I think it's called Emoji Ink. Kind of the same technique where it's just taking bitmaps and just replacing them. But Adobe Suite is good. If you guys have access to this, back in the day, it was like $3,000. It was like legit, like $3,000 to $5,000 to get Adobe on your machine up and running. But now they have like these subscription services, and like you can pay like $50 a month. It's like, what? Crazy. Yeah, I mean, you can get all of the apps for $52 a month. Like, that's not bad. And if you're looking to save money, and if you don't want to go out and buy Final Cut, you don't want to get Logic, or if you want to, Photoshop is really powerful. Illustrator is really powerful. You get After Effects for motion graphics. There's video editing. There's all kinds of stuff you can do with Adobe. So it's always a good thing. Another cool app, Cinema 4D. Cinema 4D used to also be really expensive, but now they have like a subscription. I don't have a good machine to run Cinema 4D. So like I ran it on the Mac. It did pretty good. But if I was going to jump back into the 3D world, I would probably swan dive into getting a PC and then building up something that I could spit out some polygons with, Maya, when I was in college, we did like 3D courses, and we did Maya, 3ds Max. Cinema 4D was like very new. It was more of like a 3D motion graphics. It wasn't quite like people weren't really using it for. So outside of having a PC and getting some good apps, make sure you got some internet too, or you're gonna end up like me, just getting disconnected while you're on a live stream. It's because it's cloudy outside, I think. Lost my train of thought. Let's go back. We were looking at 3D apps. We were looking at Maya. Oh, ZBrush. ZBrush is crazy. 3D sculpting. That is, I got to do this in class one time. It's a trip. 3D sculpting, they just kill it at that. Like 3D sculpting is like a crazy method of creation, because it's weird because you're not like there's no like tangible connection to it. And like I had a roommate in college. He was a badass at 3D sculpting, and he could do like that really high resolution 3D modeling stuff, and it's basically like 3D clay. I found an app on the iPad that had something very similar that is like kind of a 3D sculpting. What makes it tough though is that you don't have like your mouse and keyboard. When you're doing it on a touch screen, you're kind of like moving and like your fingers get in the way. It's not the same as like doing something like this, especially when you bust out a stylus on a Wacom, or if you have a Cintiq, like you can really get in there and sculpt, and it's pretty amazing what people do with this. I'm always really impressed with work that gets spit out by ZBrush. ZBrush, it looks like it's $9.95 a month. Again, it's sculpting, 3D sculpting. So the materials and all of that, your lighting, your animation stuff, all of those things, I believe you have to do in another app. But for someone who's looking to create, someone who's if you have a sculpting background or a sculpture background, like check out ZBrush. At least get the demo. It's crazy. Start out with a blob and see what you can make. Unreal is another good 3D application suite for, I mean, the Unreal Engine, I believe that they were purchased by Epic, or maybe the other way around, I'm not sure. But Unreal, I have a buddy who's done some really, really crazy stuff in Unreal. There's also all of the scripting things that you can do in Unreal. A friend of mine, he was working on like the AR face stuff. I have a cat on my head, right? Like this is Snapchat's AR stuff. Unreal, you can do this kind of work, and you can script it, and so you can have interactive AR environments, and you can do all of that stuff. But it also has really powerful, very powerful rendering and modeling tools, mostly for games where people use this stuff. But if you're creating some mystical, magical environment and you export it as a PNG, you've made some 3D art. And then there's Blender. Blender's free 99. Can't go wrong with that. Free 99 is like, hey, snaps. I mean, when you're looking at like being cost efficient and jumping into different things, like if you have a good little machine on you, like the new MacBook, or you have a powerful PC, snag up Blender, give it a shot, watch some tutorials. I never really got into Blender because everything's reversed. Like the keystroke, I have muscle memory from using Cinema 4D, and I have muscle memory from all the other apps, that every time I jump into Blender, I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. So I never really got into it. If I do bust out 3D, I'll jump back into Cinema 4D. On the tablet, obviously, Procreate. I love Procreate. It's a game changer. Again, like Apple products are always like really, really decent. I feel like the iPad, though, they really did go after like productivity and artists. Like Procreate feels like an Adobe product, or not even an Adobe product. Like it's like way beyond an Adobe product, because Procreate was made, I don't think they ever had a desktop app. I think they just went straight to mobile. But Procreate is epic. I do everything on Procreate. I've even done wireframes for games on Procreate, outside of digital illustration and painting. Procreate's epic. You can do photo manipulation, you can do animation, you can do keyframe animation, which is cool, old school. You can make GIFs. And then they have a ton of brushes. It's dope. The iPad in general, there's a lot of applications that have moved over onto the iPad. It's like let's see, Adobe started porting all of their stuff over, and you can get, there's all kinds of stuff on the iPad. I definitely jump through that app store and see what you can find, because there's all kinds of stuff in there. Okay. And then let's see. Oh, Artset. So I was checking this out. Artset is like, it's a realistic painting app. It's really, really cool. They do some simulation stuff to give you like oil effects and give you different like bevels and drop shadows, and their paint manipulation is really good. I haven't jumped into this app in a while. When I do, I'll probably like really get into it. Oops, what's going on? My computer's freaking out. I'm having technical issues, technical difficulties all day. So yeah, Artset, check that out. Autodesk, really good. Autodesk makes awesome software. So not only do they have like concept design software, they also have desktop suite apps as well. So you can get pretty funky with all that stuff on your PC or on your MacBook, and then you can also get into it with okay, I'm back. I fixed the cat. So yeah, Autodesk, check out that stuff. Resources. Look at this cool cat. It's not as cool as the cat on my head. Okay, resources. Envato Market. If you're looking for reference images, photos, like iStock photos, Envato is really good. I've been using Envato for years, not only for like stock references, but you can get things like audio files. You can get stuff like, you can get all kinds of stuff on Envato Market. They even have like site templates and video effects and motion effects for different applications. I suggest Envato. I think it's pretty good. It's pretty decent. They have a lot of stuff. They also have a tutorial section where you can take courses or you can learn about things like digital illustration, photo composition, web design, photo and video, audio. They have a really good like little pocket network of really great courses. So if you're looking to sharpen or just even advance your skill set, you can never go wrong by learning something. You know, watch some tutorials, watch a video tutorial. I used to do that when I was in college. I would like go through, I'd be like, okay, how do I want to make like 80s sci-fi punk backgrounds. How do I do that? Go find a tutorial, learn it. And then you just like, you remember it. For 3D models, I've used TurboSquid quite a bit. So TurboSquid is a great resource for just finding models. 3D modeling itself is an art form. It is a very complex thing. Like 3D modeling there's a certain type of artist get it. You know, like 3D modeling, it's like, it doesn't come natural to everybody. So one option is to buy the 3D models that you can use to then either rig for your animation and or wrap materials around and go to town with. So definitely TurboSquid I've used quite a bit. I know that there's probably a lot of artists in the space that use TurboSquid primarily because if you need a model, like, you know, we're talking, it could take you a week to build something like this truck could take you, you know, a day, 2 days, 3 days, whatever, depending on the complexity of how much modeling there is. Folio Procreate. This is dope. If you have your iPad and you have Procreate, check out Folio. So in the future, one day, I imagine Procreate will probably turn their Folio into like an NFT gallery. I imagine, because there's so many artists creating on Procreate. Like, why wouldn't you? But they have resources. They have discussion resources. You can go and find brushes. So I dig through this and I find brushes all the time. I've made some of my own brushes, but definitely if you're looking to just make your art either just your workflow a little bit better by optimizing your brush system or whatever. It's like, you know, I have my paint supplies over there. I have a bunch of brushes. I slam through brushes. On digital, I have hundreds of brushes, you know, and there's some that I like, some that I don't. I've been playing around with these 8-bit pixel brushes, like squares and like little glitch splashes and stuff. Fun. So definitely check out Folio if you have an iPad and you're looking for brushes. All right, demo time. So we're gonna do some Photoshop stuff. We're gonna jam on it. Ooh, did you know the Mona Lisa was open up in Creative Commons? Did we know that? When did they do that? Okay, let me pull up my browser, make sure it's not crashed. Okay, so we're gonna do some Photoshop stuff. We're gonna do some cool action. What I'm using, hardware, I have a MacBook. It's making a lot of noise because I'm streaming. I have a Bamboo tablet. This is that's that $79 one. It's like $80 or something like that. Got it off of Amazon, showed up. Really cool. It's basically just a little bit more ergonomic for just drawing and painting, and it's a little bit better than the mouse like being stuck underneath your keyboard. And yeah, we're gonna go into it. So when I set up my workflow, when I go to create a new piece, because I always assume that I'm going to print my work. I try to create in a common ground. I don't go at like a 30 by 40 inch, or I don't keep it as small as like a 6 by 6 inch. So my general rule of thumb, and this, you guys can experiment and you guys might also have your own preference, is I usually go about like 11 by 17. Think about like 2 white sheets of paper stacked up on top of each other at 300 DPI. When it comes to canvas or a giclée like print, you can maximize that up to like what you would have like your 200 DPI, and you can still get a pretty decent size print out of it. Because when you start working with really, really large files, your computer's going to slow down. Like it will clug and clunk along. So I always try to jump the 11 by 17, even on my Procreate. So when I'm creating my digital paintings too, I create them so that if I do need to print them or I need to blow them up and get them even bigger, I can. So I always start out 11 by 17 is usually my general rule of thumb. In the resolution, I always keep at print. So I keep it up at 300. Again, 72 DPI or 72 PPI resolution is how many pixels are in 1 inch. So 72 pixels are in 1 inch. That's what your computer screen displays. After Apple put in their Retina graphics and they doubled them, it went up to 144. So they smashed down. It went from 72 pixels, they doubled that to 144 pixels, and they smashed it down to 1 inch. So it got tighter. That's why if you're looking at an iPhone or you're looking at an iPad, you can't see the pixels because the pixels are half the size. When it comes to print, you print at 300 dots per inch, or pixels per inch is the standard printing resolution. So if you're creating artwork, you figure I'm doing an 11 by 17, 300 resolution, that's gonna print really nicely. Now, if I wanted to keep that digital, do the math at 72 resolution, my digital size is gonna be a lot larger. So I always suggest just kind of start out. And two, I've done pieces on my iPad that I had to giclée wrap or giclée print on canvas for like a 36 by 48. I worked at that resolution. So I worked at a 36 by 48 inch, and I worked about 150 DPI because it was canvas and I wanted my file to still be tight and I didn't want those pixels to show through. It's for any artist that's looking to translate digital work to physical work, you need to understand this, because I can tell if someone comes up to me and they show me a sticker or they give me a pack of stickers, or I just did this collaboration in a coloring book, I can tell which artists have no idea about how much resolution that they're supposed to be working in by the look of how their artwork is printed. So yeah, if I ever catch any of you artists at an NFT art show and I walk up and I look at your print, and I'm gonna be like, you didn't have your resolution right. So general rule of thumb, 300 print, 72 digital. If you're working on art specifically and you're gonna blow it up in the future, try to keep that resolution high. It's just better for you. File size, you can optimize it, but so 11 by 17. What the canvas is showing me here at 300 DPI, 33%. So 33% of this, like zoomed in, like this is a pretty large piece at like, imagine, I think, let's see, at 100, if I change this to 1 inch, let's get this brush down smaller. So you can see the 1 inch line about here. Again, there's 300 pixels going all the way in that 1 inch. And if you were on last week's workshop when we were working at the pixel, yeah, there's 300 of them that are going in 1 inch. Pretty crazy, right? So this will print really, really nicely. at 11 by 17. If you go anything bigger, you're going to start to see some pixels. If you're trying to do a billboard, I did a billboard a couple weeks ago, or no, a couple months ago. Wow. I think it was like last year. I did a billboard design for a dentist, and I had to take her photo and I had to actually like clean it up because the photo was low resolution. I had to go through it and like paint it and kind of smooth out some of those pixels, because on print, when you're blowing up to the size of a billboard, you know, you're using like 16 feet by, I don't know, it's like pretty big. Okay. And you'll have to excuse me if I junk up Photoshop. It's been a minute. This content aware thing. There. Let's get it. Background color. Boom. Okay, cool. All right, let's get into it. Quit rambling. Let's make some stuff. So I'm gonna show you guys we're gonna do a little demo tutorial. We're gonna make some photo manipulation, kind of grungy street art. We'll see what it turns out. I'm not gonna try to like nail down any aesthetic, but we'll jump into it. So here I have my canvas, and I have a picture of Mona Lisa. So I'm gonna blow that up. You can find really high resolution images of Mona Lisa, which is good. If you weren't able to pull in a high res image, sometimes what I've done in the past is I've gone in and I've actually just kind of smudged out some of this stuff. Photoshop has a mixer brush, which it kind of blends a little bit. I've done this on like photo retouching and I've used this tool for different things, but you can get really, like, if you get into it, let's see. There's some different brushes. So you can change the load and the mix. This is really good for like, if you're trying to smudge out or blend some pixels out. This is not looking really good. So let's see, very wet, moist. It's kind of like a painterly brush. Yeah, so you get this like smudge tool. And I've used this. I don't know why it's producing black like that, but I've used this to clean up pixels before, especially when you're resizing stuff. But for this, I don't think we're gonna do all that. We're probably just gonna cut her out. I think that works. When I cut stuff out, I use the lasso tool. This has Bezier curves on it. One of the hardest things when you first starting out in doing digital illustration or even just graphics is understanding how Bezier curves work. So as you pull, it's going to give you a handlebar, and that handlebar stretches and it creates the curve. This is probably like one of the tightest ways to getting something cut out. Keystroke option creates a little minus sign. You see the little minus sign on the pointer? That will stop and break my Bezier curve. So that breaks it so that I can make a sharp angle. Otherwise, what happens is people, like, if you're trying to do angles, you end up like doing this and you have like all these like random lines. So the option key, hitting that and just hitting your corner will make it so that you can get in there and you can actually create tighter corners. So you can just like, if you're coming up to something that has an edge, it's always a good way to break that edge. And again, the pen tool, like it takes, I mean, I've been using like the pen tool for years and years and years. I think now too, Photoshop, they have machine learning. So they kind of do all of this for you. They have like content aware stuff, so they can just cut it out. But if you're old school like me, I still go through with the pen tool. It's still just a little bit more tighter. I like the control of it versus like doing like a hard edge raster. The other thing too is if you're working with graphics and you want to save you want to save your artwork underneath and you don't want to destroy it, you want to use the pen tool because you can create vector masks. and then you won't be losing those pixels on the back end. So if you have a very important design file and you only have one of these images, if you've ever done something where you've cut it out and you've been like, oh snaps, I need to go back and change something, and you don't have all of that because you were dumb and you erased all your pixels, then you can save the headache by using the pen tool and using a vector mask, which does exactly the same thing. And I'll talk about smart objects if we end up throwing some, because smart objects were kind of, they're a good way to save your file. So boom, outline that pretty fast. The other thing too that I really love about using the pen tool is I can go back and I can edit, make changes to the curves in the outline that I've created. So I can just go and highlight those and I can pull them around. I can adjust the angles of the handles of the Bezier. I can even move these points around to tighten it up. And on Mona Lisa, she has a very faint veil around her head. So like I probably want to leave a little bit of a gap, but not too much. But I can pull all these Bezier curves. And again, I can adjust this. So the pen tool really makes it great for doing that. Versus if you were just jumping in with an eraser and you're like, oh, just erasing out stuff. Like how tight can you actually get that, right? So let's see. Let's pull this around. Tighten this up. And then I believe you can, if you want to change the angle, you see what I did there? You know how I did that? Okay, so what I did was, if I'm having my handle, if I try to pull it, it's gonna do this. It's gonna make me an S curve, right? The way you break the handle is from the Option key. So holding down on the Option key, when you grab the handle, will break it. See that? That's key. Knowing when to use that to break your Bezier curve handles is important. Because if you have things where you need to create bumps or something and you need to reverse that curve, that's a good way to do it. Because you could do stuff like this, right? Like if I wanted to have like a little lip or something. But I got that pretty good outlines. Check it out. Okay, so for instance, right here, I didn't mask this, but if I wanted to keep this little loop right here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold down on the pen tool and I'm gonna add an anchor curve. So I'm gonna add a curve right there where I didn't have one, and I'm gonna pull this one up. And then what I'm gonna do is use the Option key to break that Bezier curve, and then boom, check it out. I just made that angle like tighter. So you can add and remove these curves. You can also select them, and I think if you just delete them, yeah, you can delete them. But if you're trying to remove curves because you went too crazy with it, you just use the minus tool and you can cut them out. And then yeah, you can always add stuff back in. It's pretty slick, gotta say. Okay. All right, so now I got this cut out to my liking. Now what I could do is I could fill this path, like as I mentioned, like just fill it, and oh, that just actually filled it. Let's see, it's been a minute since I did this. Create vector mask. So I create a vector mask with it selected on my layer. It cuts it out. But what's great about this, again, not doing what you would if you were just going crazy with your eraser and trying to erase everything out, you can go through and you can edit this still. You don't lose all that pixel information that you had previously. So you could go and tighten up things that you wanted to keep. So using a vector mask is always a good way to, if you're trying to retain some of that image somewhere, you can do that. The other option, if you don't care about vector masks, the other option is to just right click it and say make selection. Now, when you're making a selection, you can change the feather radius. That's going to blur the lines. It's going to blur kind of the selection around that line. So if you're cutting out someone's hair, or if you're cutting out fur, like you might want to have a looser, blurrier selection. And so you can do that by having a feather radius. So if I add a 5 pixel feather radius and then I just hit cut, you can see that it didn't give me a sharp cut. See that here? Didn't give me a sharp cut. That's because it feathered the selection. So if I zoom out, you can see it's a little bit more blurry than I had it previous. So really good technique for doing that kind of style cutout. If you're doing like a stencil version. There's also a third way you could do this, is you could just legit, once it's selected, just hit mask. So you have vector mask, you have a pixel mask, and then you have the ability to just cut it out. Pixel masks are great too because you can paint on them. When it's unlike a vector mask, that's going to be a little bit more tighter. On a pixel mask, you can come in and you can paint because it's looking at the black and white. And if you have softer brushes and you need to tighten something up, if you're cutting out like hair or something, you're trying to like really get some like really sharp edges, or you're trying to get like more loose edges, like using a vector mask or using a rasterized mask sometimes is the move. But yeah, you can kind of cut this out. So now that I have this cut out, we're gonna just go straight into making this look like I don't know. Let's give this whole composition like a background. Go pink. There we go. Maybe we'll do more like pink. And then, because I like to throw in some scribbles in there. You can tell, actually, I haven't used Photoshop in a while because I legit have no brushes. Ever since I got that darn iPad, it went south. Ooh, it's slow. I can't even scribble correctly. That's whack. It's so slow. All right. I think I have to buy a new MacBook soon. This is whack. Okay. So we're going to turn this into like a stencilized piece of art. What I like to do is I just go straight up into the hue and saturation, and I just drop that thing down, bam. And then I'll copy and paste this. So I have like another one. Cool. So just so I have another one, because you know, if you mess up, you want to be able to have a backup. Actually, I should hit save. Last week when I did my pixel illustrations, I didn't save at all. I was like, what? I didn't save nothing. Okay, so the Mona Lisa. I'm used to now using like Procreate and Sketch. That auto save in the background for you is dope. I thought actually Photoshop might auto save. So I have this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push up my levels, adjustments, and I'm going to go into my levels, and I'm going to just make the white, the white stand out a little bit better. Again, my machine is plugging. Just to bring out those highlights, because I'm going to add an effect on this. So instead of doing the effect up here, I'm going to just do that to the entire layer, and I'm going to posterize. And I'm going to posterize it down to 2 colors. So just my blacks and whites. This is that kind of like Banksy style, like really low posterized image. Now, if I've lost some data or I've lost some information, because I did it as a blending layer, I can still go in and modify this. So what I've done in the past was I've used the burn and the dodge tool to either reduce things or tighten them up. And what I'm doing is I'm lightening by using the dodge tool. I can lighten up things that are important that I want to keep information on, and I can darken things that aren't as important. So I can say like, oh, I want to keep the highlights on her shoulder. I want to keep the highlights here. I can use the dodge tool to kind of bring those out. And then I can use the burn tool to kind of burn some of that deeper detail information. Maybe I need a line at the hand, right? Because I'm starting to lose like the information of the hand. So you can see when I turn that blending layer back on, I start to get that ability to tighten this up. And I'm not like actually painting. I'm just using dodge and burn to reduce and increase some of the information here. You can use this. This is really good technique for if you're just tightening up your graphics in general. Like if you just want to get a little bit more information because there's not enough in there, you can do this. Cool. We're gonna make this kind of pop arty, I think. Okay. So I have this. I already have my selection. I'm going to go ahead and drop on top, and I'm going to fill this in like let's go like a teal. Cool. With this, I can change the blending mode. Easy. It's just like really simple way to tint your stuff. But I like to always off shift mine. I like to play with. I like to mess with like kind of colors and duplicating different things. And then I always, kind of a habit of mine is I just usually jump in and I just start tweaking colors to just kind of see like what other effects I can get. I really love too, like in blending modes, playing with exclusion, difference, and abstract, or subtract. These are always really fun to play with. And when you change your blending mode to that and you start to play with your hues, you can get some really trippy stuff. You know, like I love that tan and that red and those blues popping off. So like I'm gonna stick with that. So I'm gonna move this kind of like off. And I have this layer here, which is creating another like kind of like a trippy side to it. So yeah, kind of a fun technique to play with those blending modes. Because you can get some really cool trippy stuff with it. And then sometimes I'll just jump in and I'll just paint on top. Again, if you have a stylus like the bamboo, then easy peasy. So I'll draw like some eyeballs, and then I can change these I could change the way that this overlays on top of my image as well. Right? You can see like if I start going into the difference, I start to get crazier colors. Sometimes even just multiply is good, but ooh, that kind of works too. Let's just trip this thing out. I'm gonna cut it out. Dope. Okay. Yeah. See, trippy. You can when you start to play with your different blending modes and start to play with the ways that you can overlay stuff on top of it, on top of each other, then you can get like some really crazy stuff. Let's make this Mona Lisa look crazy. Let's give her a third eye. Why not? I just copied and pasted her eye. I'm gonna just move it up. Sweet. Then I can erase out some of the details that I don't need. And again, the way that I'm doing this is I still have my image, right? Still have my image that I cut out. I just added a posterized layer on top to kind of make it look like that a little bit. And then I added green and red layers on here and then just like some scribbles. That's it. And so yeah, that layer, because of all those contents in there, it's gonna save that. So I can erase that, and it will still kind of like blend me in a little bit. Check it. She got third eye. Dope. Okay, cool. Let's see, what else could we add on top of this? What you guys got in the chat? Let me check. What should we add? Should we add just like some graffiti spray can stuff? Let's check it. So I'm gonna go to unsplash.com. Really good resource if you want premium stuff. Really good. Great for backgrounds. So like paint, splatters. Just, this is royalty free stuff. If you're really getting creative and you want to go out and spray paint the side of your building to get some textures, totally do it. Don't get busted. But if you don't, and you don't want to go get your hands dirty, go grab some stock footage. Unsplash is a good resource. It's pretty much like the free resource. It's good, Creative Commons stuff. But you can, there's tons of things that you can grab on here to build out photo compositions if you're doing this kind of like photo manipulation work. So I'm just gonna grab, let me see if I could find something that's like paint, like spray paint. Ooh, this background's dope. Okay, I'm gonna copy that. And we're gonna paste it in here. Now again, because it's on the lower side, right? Like as I blow it up, I'm gonna start to get a lot of pixels, and that doesn't really look that amazing. So I'm going to hit it with some filters. One thing that I try to do when I'm blowing up some stuff like this is dust and scratches is always good. You can kind of, it will help you, it will blend out some of those pixels. See, it kind of went overload on that one, but it will start to make up some of that data for you. Dust and scratches is usually like a good first pass, sorry, when you want to import images. My machine is clugging though, so it's moving really slowly. But you can see as I start to tweak these, it will create, it cleans it up. It reduces some of that pixel info. It just makes it a little bit easier on the eyes, I guess. Now, if you wanted to go and like really freak this out and do some other stuff to it, you totally could. So like, I'm gonna go back in and I'm going to go ahead and posterize this down. Actually, first I'm gonna desaturate it because I'm gonna use the black and grays, and then I'll do my colors by hand. So I can just desaturate it, and once I have it desaturated, I can go and I can posterize it. Really, what I'm looking for is I'm just looking for kind of that kind of posterized copy printer FedEx look, because I'm going to use that as my background. And you can see if I drop it underneath, like even with no color, it starts to have a vibe. It's starting to vibe a little bit. Throw my colors back on there with the third eye, and you can see, you can start to get, it's starting to have a little bit of an aesthetic. I'm going to use this yellow highlighter like on the face. Maybe I can change it. Like, that's cool. Ooh, that's cool. Sick. I mean, this looks like it's almost ready to go. That was pretty easy. But we're going to keep it going. Keep it going. Let me clean up my workspace a little bit. For this, I don't know what this is. Oh, that's our third eye. I'm going to group that, and I have my posterized layer. Again, if you nuke the posterized layer, you can see it's, I didn't permanently modify that. I just threw a poster layer on it. And then I have like some color overlays. This is just reference. Cool. Sick. Okay. So let's keep playing with this. I'm going to splash some color on top because I love working with color. I had a cool pink background on this. Maybe we could even start to see how that top graphic overlays. Ooh, that looks kind of fresh. See, blending modes, you can have a lot of fun with blending modes. Some people overdo it. You got to know you got to know when to not overdo it. But that's like all art, right? Like you need to know when. It's good to know. It's like watercolor painting. That's like the best analogy I can think of when it comes to art. Like people who paint in watercolor, there's a level of I'm not going to overdo it, right? I think that's a very, very good discipline to have as an artist, is knowing when to not overdo it, right? Like when you paint with watercolor, if you're trying too hard and you're putting too much paint or you're mixing too much color, you're gonna have a muddy mess. So if anyone's looking for like something zen to do, just do an exercise where you make watercolor washes, because it's being able to have that self-discipline and control to know when is enough, right? And I can see that in some people's work that I see across Twitter and even portfolios that I've done critiques for. You can tell when an artist is just like, yo, give up already, you're fighting with it too much. So sometimes it's good to like back out. So let's see. One of the other things I can do here too, because I have this kind of like layered up, I'm gonna add a couple more filters in here. Let's give her a halo. Seems cool. Why not? I'm just going to use my brush. I'm going to use a soft brush, but I'm going to change it. Let's see. Here's a little trick. See how many of y'all got this? Dissolve. How many of y'all jump in and play with dissolve? So what dissolve does is it doesn't smooth out. It keeps it pixely. I love dissolve. It's super fun because like when you're using, you can get that like dot effect that you wouldn't normally have if you're using an airbrush. So if I'm using an airbrush, you can see the difference here, right? If you're going for the aesthetic of very grungy art. If you're going for more something a little looser and you want it to be all like super pretty, then yeah, airbrush it all up, airbrush everything you want. But dissolve is something that's kind of cool. And let's see, I'm gonna outline this halo if my computer doesn't completely crash. So yeah, so like if I wanted to outline this, like it's not that attractive looking, but if I switch it to dissolve, like it gives it a little bit more of a grungy flair. I've used this as a technique as well for doing like stippling and shading, which I'll see if I can do that in this piece, but to kind of get like that more like street kind of grungy look, like I'm just gonna do that here, and I'm gonna just outline this. Again, I'm using dissolve, so I'm outlining my halo. I did it on a new layer because after I do this, I'm gonna pop that yellow layer on top. Cool. Then I can move the yellow layer on top. And can I move the yellow layer on top? Oh no, I painted on it. What? Whoops. Okay. Undo. That's why you gotta have your control save at the top of your hands. Okay, so now it's on a new layer. Okay, so I'm gonna outline it. Yep, it's been a while since I used a Wacom. Check that line up. He's got it around the curve. It's going 90 miles an hour. Bam. Ugh, I feel like I'm racing. Well, that was terrible, but I'm just gonna pop this layer on top and it should be fine. It didn't do it again. What? Yo. Tripping. Okay, here's the background. Okay, let's try that one more time. It's tripping me out. Yo, it ain't even working now. There we go. Okay, I'm just gonna draw it behind. For some reason, this sounded way cooler in my head. It doesn't look that good, but we're gonna go with it anyways. Because like watercolor, sometimes you just gotta let it do its thing. You gotta let it dry. Throw some salt on it. Get some little effects. There we go. Oof. Ha. Cool. Got a terrible looking halo, but it's okay. I could even just take this and make it a little bit darker, like kind of, let's see. I like to, what's really cool about Photoshop with blending layers is that they have the hover preview. So you can just like quickly glide through these and see which ones you want to like work with. Kind of a cool little thing. All right. And let's see, I'm going to add in some other flares in here. So as I mentioned, so I because I have like a love for street art and graffiti, I always love to put like little splashes. Again, I'm using the airbrush tool, but I'm using the dissolve to do this. So my mode is set to dissolve, and I'm going to add in some like little gleams here around the halo. And because I'm using the dissolve, it's going to distribute out like this, and then I can tighten this up using like just a standard, just like little pencil brush, and like add my shines. And it gives you that little like Basquiat, like hand street art vibe. Maybe make these circles. Cool. What I'm gonna do too is, because I'm in here, I'm gonna grab my black and I'm gonna go ahead and make these drippy, because why not? Coming from the street that's got some drip. Who got the drip? There we go. Check that out. All right, so quiz time. I'm gonna be looking in chat. How many of y'all created something similar to this? Looks better than this. Post it. Post it on a Rareball. Go buy it, or post it on OpenSea. I'll cop it right now. If anybody's following along, let's see if you guys see how much game y'all got. I'll snatch it up. Okay, so this is looking funky. It's not my normal style, but it'll do. Let me get my layers down here a little bit cleaned up. I'm gonna pull her down. Maybe what I might do now that I have that cool halo, let's grab like some wings. Why not? She's an angel. Bird wing. I got Google Images over here on the right. Yeah, we'll see if somebody comes through with a really dope style, like pop art, grungy street art piece. Hit me on Twitter. I'll peep it. If it's dope, I'll snag it up. Drop your link. All right. Ooh. We got some cool wings. I'm looking for some wings. Here's a really, really poor clip art version of wings. Look how small they are. But we're gonna make it work, because we got the power of Photoshop. We got the power of Photoshop, yo. I'm gonna boost it up. And because I'm working in this art style, I don't really care that the pixels are small. Doesn't ruin my day, because I am going to cut this out and I'm going to posterize it anyways. So if you want to be sloppy and you don't really care, you can just you just do it like this. If you got the control, obviously. my Wacom is not. It's been a minute. Ugh. Nope, that didn't work. Okay, so never mind. We're gonna go to let's go to the pen tool. Don't judge me. It's Tuesday morning. It's Taco Tuesday. I didn't even have any tacos yet. Don't judge me. Okay. I'm just gonna quickly cut this out. Bop. Make selection. Let's turn off the feather. Command X, cut it out. Command V, bam. There we go. Okay. I can clean all this up by just drawing around it. And then just deleting it. Sometimes there's some occasions where you want your clip art to be cut out and have it a little bit rough. That's kind of a vibe, like old punk posters. Kind of reminds me of, you know, where it's a little bit more sloppy. I'm just gonna try to blast through this so we don't take too much time. Ugh. It looks like crap now, but it's gonna look like beautiful later. Trust me. I know how to get it going. Because I already have a posterization layer, I can just move this. I'm going to desaturate it, and I'm going to move it beneath that posterization layer here. And you can see that I lost a lot of that wing information. So again, you can go through and you can use the burn tool to just bring out some of that info. You can do midtones. We'll kind of bring it out. Highlights will bring it out. But I can kind of see that where I wanted to have that feather information, like how much I actually need to work on this. The other thing too is it's underneath the posterization layer using brightness and contrast. You can just contrast it, right, to feel out and feed more pixel information. Cool. Kind of looks like a wing, right? Kind of. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select the Mona Lisa figure here, and I'm going to select and invert my selection, and then I'm going to hit mask so the wing pops behind. Maybe we'll do it this way. Select, inverse, and then mask. Kind of looks like a wing. It kind of doesn't look like a wing. I don't know. That's why the art we make is the art we make, because we change our minds sometimes. And then I'm going to do the same selection here. So I duplicated it, and then I'm going to do another selection here. I already have a mask. I can just nuke it. I don't need it, but I can go ahead and I have my selection already. I need to invert my selection so that it's going to mask around the outside, and then bop, oop, invert, inverse, select, inverse. Did it do it? My machine is clunking. Okay, select, inverse, all right, and then mask. Maybe I don't want to inverse it. Oh, there, that works. Weird. I can move these wings around by dropping those little paper clips and just position them down. Maybe this one we can curve out a little bit so it looks more like a wing. Even make it larger. That's kind of cool. I dig it. She got wings. All right. And then I'm going to add in a couple more things, sign it, and then that's it. Where should I upload this? Should I drop this on Known Origin? Should I put this up on Super Rare? Okay. So I'm going to add in some more color because I love working with color. I always, this is really slow, but I love just scribbles and splashes. Look at that, it's so slow, it's drawn by itself. I can just scribble it and just let go. And it's just like, making it look funky. I love working with scribbles because, like, I don't know if any of you guys follow me on Twitter. I've been doing like abstract expressionism, like scribble pieces. And what I love about it is it's not that simple. Like it's more fun, but like you play with composition, you play with space, you play with color, you do those different types of things. Like that experimentation is always fun. So I always suggest if you're just looking to do something funky, look up abstract expressionism. I love abstract expressionism. That was like one of the coolest things that I worked on, like when I was in college, that I saw that I was like, yo, abstract expressionism is dope. Like Rothko or Jackson Pollock. And you can see, like, yeah, you can overdo it, or you can just do a little bit and then it looks cool. Let's add another layer on here. And I'm gonna just add in a couple little effects just to just make it a little bit more funky. So like a couple of lines here and there. Just so it looks like I spent some time on it. Make sure every time you draw, you make sound effects. If you're not doing that, then you ain't doing it right. You know what I'm saying? Bow. And because I'm Franky Nines, I'm gonna add a crown up here. Bop. And I'm gonna finish her off by signing it, Franky Nines, and we're done. Boom. Oh, that ass was crazy. Tim Cook needs to hurry up with them Apple new MacBooks, because this is getting bonkers. It's slowing me down. I can't even do things. So yeah, that's it. Check it out. We just banged out a pretty fresh looking piece of art. I mean, it's scribbly, but I love the colors. The colors are dope. Yeah, that was it. Save your work. Now again, because I built this so high, and that's probably one of the reasons why my computer's like chugging right now, because it's at 300 DPI. If you look at this at like whatever size you're gonna need, it's built up pretty good. This will translate to print nice. And because I'm using these grungier textures, like these more pixelated textures, the print, when it translates over to print, it's gonna look a lot better. See, I'll just cover a third eye. So yeah, that's fresh looking art. That thing is bright. Cool. All right, so we're gonna save it. I do Command Shift Option S is save for web. PNG, this is a 1 megabyte file. It's pretty good size. If I wanted to do, I would probably keep it PNG. If I wanted to, I could go JPEG. JPEG this is a lot heavier. JPEG is usually general standard for print. For the image uploading that we're doing, and I'll slap this on Known Origin or something. Basically this, right? Just like a PNG. And now I have my source art. Oh, one thing I want to look at too, before I go, I'll show you guys a really simple trick. So I showed you guys, we talked about resources, we talked about hardware, some apps, we looked at some different things. Well, aside from putting your art on like a NFT gallery, if you want to print it, Canvas Pop is pretty sick. I did Canvas Pop is really good. Their quality of their printing is pretty decent. Again, if you don't have your resolutions right, I can see it. You can probably actually even see it. So make sure that like before you go out and you're trying to print like 50 by 60 inch canvases that you don't need, you have your resolutions correct. The other thing that you're going to need to know as well, and again, prints are always fun. The other thing you need to know as well is your bleeds. So when you choose a size, like say it's a portrait, you want to do like a 24 by 30, you're going to have 0.25 inch. Well, you're going to have your wrap, right? Because it's the size of the canvas is the front, then you have the depth, and then you have the back fold. So you need to always expand your artwork. So what I do sometimes is I'll take my artwork, say this is my finished piece. I'm going to just group everything together. I'm just going to duplicate it just so I can save it. And then I'm going to convert this to a smart object. And I'm going to, I'm going to rasterize it. That's not what I wanted. There we go. Okay, merge the layers down. So now say I wanted to print this. So this is 11 by 17. If I wanted to make 11 by 17 canvas, I'm going to go to canvas size, and I need to increase it for the depth and the back flap. So you can imagine, I generally, like when I'm stretching canvas, when I paint, I do about, I'd say my depth is always about 1.5, and then the back extra margin that you want is about 1.5. So about 3 inches, I think, is like what you want to give yourself on each side. So 11 inches plus 6 is going to be 17, and then 17 plus 6 is going to be 21. Is it 21? 6. Is it 21? Am I tripping? No. Wait, what is 17 plus 6? What? 23. So I'm just increasing the canvas size. If Photoshop doesn't, what? Yeah, that was not correct. That's crazy. Oh, 117. No, I want just 17. Cool. So say I have like my back flaps and stuff. Now, if I made my artwork too short, and I need to wrap this, what I do is I always start and I take my edge, and then I just I try to keep the front as clean as possible, but I always want my canvas to wrap around the back and the sides and to like keep the artwork so it looks clean. So what I do is I just take the selection tool, or I'll have like my piece of art. And then I'll like duplicate it, and then I'll take the selection on the edge, and I'll use that to stretch like this. So that way on the very edge, when my canvas is actually wrapped around, it's going to give you a clean, like a very clean translation, like a clean edge. I'm holding shift when I do this. I actually kind of like that distorted look. It looks funky. But you do that for the top and stuff. So that way when it's stretching, when it wraps around the canvas or it wraps around whatever you're printing on, that's like your bleed and margin specs, right? And so when you do this all the way around, you also want to be careful too that you're not distorting too much of the front face, because you will see that. Like, depending on the size of your canvas, like you don't want to have any of this line stuff right here, like overhanging. So you do want to kind of like shift things around, but on the sides and whatnot, you can make it can blend and blur and stretch like this. I've never seen it printed in a situation where I was like, oh man, I wish I shouldn't have done that. It usually always works, because now, like, if I have a 11 by 17 inch canvas, to just make sure the artwork is going to wrap around the back, like, you know, this is good. This is going to print. This would print nicely on it, like a wrap. So you can imagine, like, my 11 by 17 would be sitting right here. So all that extra action is around the back. So you could see, that'd be stretched if you're doing canvas. And again, canvas pop. If you have some cool artwork, or if you're doing like print run, check this out. I've used I used Printful before for canvases, but I thought Canvas Pop, their stuff seems to be the best quality I've seen so far. And they do other things. They have frame prints and collages, and you can do a triptych, you can do a pet portrait. What? Okay. So but we're not going to print this. We're just going to upload it. So I'm going to just undo all that I could do. Give it back down to the regular size. That's it. And as I mentioned, I'm going to save it. And I'm going to go ahead and save it as a PNG. Mona Lisa, week 2. And then I'll pop it on Known Origin, and boogie woogie woogie to the maximum. Cool. That's all I got, everybody. Let's see. Next week, Taco Tuesday, but we didn't have no tacos yet. Digital painting. So we're gonna jam on the iPad, because this computer is not doing what it's supposed to do. It's being slow. So we're going to be jumping into some digital illustration work. I'm going to be doing like some digital painting concepts, just kind of showing like how to work with values and how to work your brushes and whatnot. And then I'm going to do some portfolio reviews. So we're going to look at some artwork pulled off of Maker's Place. We're going to look at some Katie Arrington's work. Anga Tantama, we're going to do a review of his work. We're going to look at Mr. Alex Pardee and Pascal Blanc, looking at how they work, how they use color. We're gonna kind of look at their artwork and break it down and see, like, okay, what makes their work unique to each one of them. So we'll review that in a critique manner, and review it as kind of like a way for us to understand and start to build principles that we want to use as artists to make our work consistent, right? Consistency is key. That's when you start to build flavor. Once you have flavor, then people know you for your flavor. So, alrighty, y'all, that was it. Catch me online, catch me on Twitter. I'll see you guys next week. Bow down. That's it.